September arrives and suddenly your life speeds up, or at least mine does. We got school runs back, homework. We're driving our kids to practice, and yes, I'm a football mom now. Life is great. We got work deadlines and holidays on the horizon. Oh, and it's a lot. And with it comes that voice that says, "Oh, finish strong, do more, push harder." And that tiny voice inside of you gets amplified by your shitty social media feed. But, babes, what if the way we set goals is part of the problem? What if the secret to ending the year well isn't about doing more, but about doing things differently? After all, if we keep on repeating the same shit, who are we to expect a different outcome? So, in this episode of The Scenic Route, we're rethinking goal setting from summer's end to year's end with a framework that actually fits into your life. So, we've just turned the corner from summer into fall, and if you're anything like me, or most women with caretaking responsibilities, the pressure already has started to creep up. Like we've got all these new routines in September, back to school. We're still fucking exhausted from summer, but thanks. And October ushers in Q4, and like I don't know, it feels like the year's end is already glaring at me from the back, from the distance. And I mean, I'd like I would, I mean, it's not that I don't enjoy kind of like being swept up by this kind of like the end of finishing the end of the year strong. Like I do want to set some goals. I want to get organized. I want to finish strong. But here's the problem: the way we're usually taught to set goals doesn't always fit into real life. It assumes perfect conditions. It assumes endless life and energy, and assumes that life won't interrupt you. If you're managing kids, work, household, that's just not gonna happen. We're adults here. We can be honest. It like life is lifing. So we need a goal setting approach that works even when life is lifing. And I got something that I've learned from my coach, Jessica Ely, a while back. She's been on the podcast many, many times. Love her. And it's a framework that I've used myself and I've used in my coaching practice. And it's a framework I would love to share because it can carry you not only out of like this summer smoothly, but also into this year end frenzy with clarity and compassion. So I first heard it, as said, first heard this framework from my friend and coach Jessica Ely. Um, I think originally, it comes from a book, The Four Disciplines of Execution, back in 2004 by Stephen Covey. And basically, they analyzed organizations and they noticed that organizations focus way too much on things like quarterly profit, customer satisfaction, like all these things that have already happened. They're things of the past. And they realized that organizations have breakthroughs when they were focusing on things that they could control every day. That those were the things that were moving the needle. And it's really simple to apply this to your personal life. And it's a framework called lead versus lack goals. So, in a nutshell, lack goals are the outcomes. They're what you measure after the fact, like revenue or customer satisfaction or weight loss. Thing like they're important, and yet they're often not really in your control. Like you, unless you're forcing people to buy your shit, you can't really force them to buy your shit, right? Then we have lead goals. Lead goals are the inputs, the actions, the things you do consistently that will lead to you reaching your lag goal. So if you want to increase your revenue, for example, things like reaching out to two past clients a week could be a lead goal to get you there. And the very crucial thing is lead goals are in your control. And we're being honest here, sometimes these lead goals are ridiculously small. But, and here's the kicker, we want you to be consistent, and in this consistency, lead goal after lead goal, you will reach your lag goal. So I also kind of like to think it as lag goals are the harvest and lead goals are the daily watering. So it's kind of like let's dig in a bit deeper, okay? You can really also like figure it out as kind of like, okay, lag goals show the results, while lead goals show the path to results, what moves the needle. And you can, I mean, most of the people go lag first approach. So you start with the outcome you desire. That's usually what is on your mood board or your vision board, right? Like I want to make X revenue this month. I want to run a marathon by next summer. I want to lose 10 pounds. And then you reverse engineer. What lead goals will get me there? And how often am I going to check in and evaluate? So if you've run, this is especially easy if it's something you've done in the past, then you have some data to work on. If you've run a marathon before, you know, okay, last time I ran a marathon, I trained this amount of week, this amount for this amount per week. I've that was my diet, blah blah blah, and you'd kind of like you. So your first focus point would be, I'm just going to repeat and see what happens. If all the conditions are the same, maybe I'm going to reach my lag goal. If not, I'm going to change it up. But or you take kind of like a lead first approach. And this, it's not one that's better than the other. It really depends on where you're at. So if you feel really like defeated or really glum about things that you're not hitting your outcomes, switch it up, right? Don't start with the finish line, start with the action. And the question there is really simple. What am I willing to commit to daily or weekly? And be brutally honest with your life, with yourself, right? Like if your life at the moment is not doesn't really make it easy for you to commit to 1 hour yoga sessions every day, then maybe it's just a quick morning salutation at the start of your day. So you start with that question, then you ask, what outcome might that lead me to? I like it because it's more experimental. It's kinder. It kind of like draws into your curiosity, and it just kind of like open. It feels very playful to me. And here's why like this whole lead versus lag goal framework is so effective. It shifts your attention to what you can actually control. It gives you real time feedback because you know today whether you walked or not. You know whether you reached out to a client. You know whether you wrote your morning pages. It holds some predictive power. The more consistent you are with your lead measures, the more likely the outcome will follow. And it gives you psychological wins every single day, right? Instead of waiting 3 months to see if the scale moved or the bank or your bank account grew, you celebrate every pound lost, every meal choice you made, every celebration along the way, right? And that's how you keep the momentum going because you're like, oh, I could do this. I did this. I'm gonna do it again. And sometimes people come to me, okay, but what if this doesn't seem to work for me? It does, like I did this, like it's not working for me. Well, there's kind of like two approaches. One is you're not reaching your lag goals. So the first question to ask is, did I actually hit my lead goals? Did I actually commit to what I said I'm going to commit to? If not, well, that's where you start, right? Like you still have to be the one who does these things. We're adult. We're grown ups. So we still need to do shit. And if your answer is yes, I did all my lead goals consistently, but they did not lead me to my lag goal, then that's just feedback. Then you're like, okay, this lead goal doesn't work right now. Maybe it worked in the past, but now it doesn't. You tweak, you test, you experiment, and keep on going. If you're not hitting your lead goals, that's to me often a sign that they're too big, too vague, not concrete enough, or as said in the beginning, not small enough. Um, I mean, for me, it was so painful how teeny tiny. I had to get with my lead goals. Like, for example, I had a client who said, like, oh, I make a new website. That's not really a lead goal. That's a whole fucking project. You need to really break it down into smaller actionable steps. Like, I'm going to choose a platform. I'm going to pick a template. I'm going to pick a font. I'm going to, all these different kind of steps. Imagine kind of like, yeah, as you were writing like a screenplay, what is the actor doing? Make a website. If that's your like your advice to the actor, act like you're making a website. But what is he actually going to do? Those are the legals. So with that, the questions to sit with are: did I have the resources, the energy, the skills, the support to actually do my lead goals? If not, then we kind of like look at it to where questions that were my lead goals broken down enough? Did I give myself the time, the energy, the resources I needed? Do I need to adjust the frequency or the consistency? Or do I need to test a new approach? This is where the framework is so powerful, right? It's not rigid. It's not about perfection. It's about experimenting, adjusting, finding daily actions that truly move the needle, and the most playful way. And now you might be wondering, okay, I get it. It's just a new framework. It's a new method, whatever. Like, how the fuck is this different from all the other goal setting advice that's out there? And a very popular one you probably heard of are SMART goals, where SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And I don't know. I often hear that framework as on the pedestal of like gold standard for productivity. In some ways, I like it because it forces you to be very clear about your goals. You can't just say I want to get healthier, right? If you want to do a SMART goal, you would really need to say, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds by October 30th. So it's clear, precise, trackable, and has a deadline. But again, the catch is most SMART goals, or the way most people define SMART goals, they're actually lack goals. They're focused on the end result, right? The lose 5 pounds, the run 10K, to finish the manuscript, script 100K revenue, and so on. And again, we run into the same problem, right? The results aren't fully in your control. You can eat differently, move more, still not lose weight at the timeline you set for your body because your body's like, screw you, don't care. You can write diligently, chapter for chapter of your book, but life is lifing. The manuscript is not done on timeline, on like by the deadline. So when the lag goal is kind of like framed as the only measure of success, you miss all the progress that happens along the way. And if you're already stretched thin with kids, work, homework, and another thousand moving parts, missing that outcome can really feel like failure. Even if you have meaningful progress, it kind of like just gets blurred over. And if you're not feeling the progress, that's often where momentum breaks down. You start to feel like, why bother? Why give a crap? I'm already behind. Like, just might burn everything down. And that's also why so many smart goals, and especially like those fancy, shiny, glossy New Year's resolutions, fizzle out. Where smart goals do have their place, I think, is when you already have like stability, support, bandwidth, and a lot of experience with goal setting for yourself. Like you've trained that muscle. So, like if you have all that, a smart goal can be really motivating. For me, it was just more like absolute buzzkill. And I feel that runs true for a lot of my clients. Like if life is life and isn't tidy, you have all these like invisible labor, mental loads, and it was just really hard to stick to something because I couldn't see the progress. So it was really also nice for me to have something like I have control over that I can influence. I could influence if I did my teeny tiny lead goals. So it really helped me to build momentum through these teeny tiny wins. And of course, I also had to wrap my head around that I had to start really incredibly teeny tiny small, smaller than I probably would have liked if if I'd asked my ego. So check that out at the door. So kind of like let's practice this a bit, okay? If we say for a family life, one lack goal could be peaceful mornings without everyone rushing and screaming. So we could ask, okay, what lead goals could be there? Maybe one is prep lunches the night before, pack your bags the night before, lay out clothes with your kids the night before, whatever. Like for work, if your lat goal is finish my year end projects on time, the lead goal could be I'm going to block 2 focus sessions each week until the end of December. If you lack was like, oh, I want to host a perfect Christmas dinner, one lead goal could be I delegate one task per week in regards to planning this Christmas dinner starting in October. Or mm, I want to feel calmer during Christmas season as a lat goal. A lead goal could be okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes of breath work um, before I pick up my kids from school 3 times a week. Like, notice how each lat goal sets their direction, but the lead goals make it actually doable in real life. So here's the kind of like another really important part. Lat goals, they aren't bad. Like, there's nothing inherently bad with them. They're your compass, the lighthouse, but they're not a measure of your worth. Like, if you're not achieving them, that's just data. It doesn't mean anything about your willpower or whatnot. Lead goals are where you build self trust, where you train your muscle, where you commit to something you're gonna do consistently. They're the place where you get to say, I did this thing I said I would do, regardless of what else life threw at me. And what makes this method so powerful for us is it meets you where you are, right? You can really be like, no, you know what? My lead goal in this season right now with my schedule looks like this. This is what I honestly can commit to right now with the bandwidth, the resources, the capacity I have available to me right now. So as you move from summer's end towards the year end, I want you to really remember this. Well, first, you don't really need to do it all, right? And I don't know, cleanse up your social media feed and get more decent people into it who are not telling you kinds of craps that make you feel about yourself. And you don't need to finish perfectly. There's, I don't know, whatever. We don't care about perfection here. You just kind of need to keep walking. Tiny, teeny, tiny, steady lead steps, just one after the other. Um, one after the other. You got this. So thank you so much for joining me on the Scenic Route this week. If this episode resonates, share it with a friend who might need a gentle way of approaching goals right now. And remember, the Scenic Route is about finding a path that feels sustainable to you, and we really don't care about sprinting to a finish line. See you next week.